Good afternoon, Speed Gaming, and welcome to another great edition as part of the No Kid Hungry Marathon. We are the Final Fantasy Randomizer community. I am Dark Mooney X, joined here in the booth by Dwight Desitel. Dwight, how are you doing this afternoon?
I am doing fantastic, Dark Moon. I am ready to showcase Final Fantasy Randomizer for a fantastic cause today. This is going to be awesome.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I am so looking forward to this. We've got a special flag set here crafted just for this marathon. Hopefully going to come in around the hour 30 mark. Just released the racers to come dive into this. It's going to be an interesting one. You're not going to see some of the fast stuff that we usually give our players when we're feeling really nice. There's not going to be like a free airship, for example. But we have managed to verify that this is a nice crafted seed for these two that they have no clue what's going to happen, nor do we. Some fun stuff you're going to see. We're going to have shuffled towns. So aside from the opening area, Canaria Town, you're not going to see the usual towns and their usual locations. And we're also going to have what we like to call blurst items, blessed and cursed, which we'll talk about once we get to it so you can see it in action. But you can see we have our black belt thief parties, and it looks like Dwight, they've both gone with a red mage, black mage to go along with. How do you feel about that?
I like that a lot. Most of the white magic in this game, we're getting started already too, but not being locked out of faster temper is going to be huge for defeating the bosses.
Oddly, I think Groggy is like just going with straight sound effects and no music. I think Bert was having problems with his audio, so this may be our audio for today, and that's a little sad. But we do have Fade, Cure 4, and Exit at Life 1. Did you happen to see what was at the or the White Magic Shop? Did you happen to see what was at the Black Magic?
I did. There was Fire 3 at the Black Magic Shop, so was the best spell. There was Fire 2 and Lit 2 as well. So, yeah, you should have brought a white mage to this party.
Yeah, no, that exit that they're not going to be able to get until class change will probably slow them down just a little. They might be regretting that just a touch there. But we do have Fire 3, and we do have Faye, and we do have Cure 4, all of which are going to be fantastic for them. And we do have a note from Feasel that we'll be switching over to Bert's audio in just a little bit, so we get some delightful music right there. So we're going up to the Temple of Fiends, and Dwight, do you want to explain how the basic opening of this game normally works in vanilla?
In vanilla, the basic opening is that you have to go rescue the princess and defeat Garland. And in order to do so, typically sometimes you'd have to fight some imps, but Garland just gets obliterated by a Fade on Bert's side. And the opening of the randomizer is pretty similar for this flag set anyway. But as you note, instead of giving us the bridge, the king gives us the ruby, and the princess gives us the canoe instead of the normal loot. So all of the items are shuffled. So the NPCs they could give you what they give you in vanilla, but they don't necessarily have to, as we saw there.
Yeah, if you're used to this game normally, you would know that the game requires you to go fight Garland to get a bridge because you're in a little landlocked area where you can't get out of normally. You don't have a ship, you don't have a bridge, you don't have any way to escape. So you basically have to just like use the killing of Garland as a way to incentivize the king to give you the bridge and get out of here, which would then allow you to go to Broca and get yourself a ship. You can see we already had the ship, we already had the bridge. So other things are going to be coming up instead, and everything is just all jumbled up here, including the fact that we have Nuke and Warp at the level 4 magic shop sitting here at Elfland, which is at Provoca. This is a crazy game we've got going on today.
Absolutely, Dark Moon, and that's one of the great things about the randomizer. In addition to shuffling those NPC items, all of the shops and the spells in this flag set are also randomized. So not only are the items that you see in each shop going to be among the pool of everything that would normally be available in the game, it's also going to be either at a higher or a lower price as well. So you could get for example, the level 8 spell Fade was at level 1 white magic, so giving you access to it at the beginning of the game rather than the end.
Yeah, also a couple of nice end game spells right there that they have access to. Gonna make clearing out these packs real easy, along with that Fire 3 as well. Black Mage is actually pretty solidly stacked at this point, the Nuke, the Warp that he has. between that and what the white magic has presented to us, we got plenty to deal with right now. I would not be surprised if they occasionally bring that black mage up just to cast that warp. And then for the most part, as Bert is kind of already showing, just two-manning a whole bunch of this, because why do you need a bunch of players when you've got Fade and a black belt?
Life at level 6 should be accessible to the red mage post-promotion, so that's good.
Also Temper that I saw, which is very useful for them come the end game and some of the big bosses. You'll also notice that these old men right here are not standing around in a circle doing yoga. Dwight, what's going on with?
So the randomizer community is awesome, and the developers have created certain flags that are just kind of for fun. And this flag is called Confused Old Men. And so instead of standing in a circle, they kind of wander around, and it makes you have to like pick which one you talk to. So it's pretty
Villager blocked. Oh, Groggy, I think you're gonna find it faster just to like go out and come back in. So yeah, the state.
Wait a minute, Dark Moon. Groggy Dog went to the Elfland location. Why did he find Crescent Lake there?
That would be because of our shuffled towns. As I noted when we had Elfland up at Provoca, and again here with the Crescent Elfland, Krelsland, if you will. The towns are all shuffled around each other. You can actually shuffle a lot of different things in the randomizer, including all of the various locations. So you can wander into Sea Shrine and suddenly find yourself, like, at Provoca, for example. But right now, for this version of the game, all that we have, is, as far as shuffling locations is concerned, is the towns themselves. A little bit of spice to add to the proceedings, but not a huge amount right now. Also want to point out the fact that our runners, I believe, are actually working off of a largely blind flag set. I think they chose some of the basics of this, but we had two different people go through and pick out a seed for them, Ragnarok and Gregly Puff, a couple of our veterans in the community, and we just kind of sent them the final file for them to use, so they don't exactly know what they got themselves into here. It's safe, but not too safe. Also saw Invis 2 there at the White Magic shop. That's really nice to find. Invis 2, Temper, some of the Cure 4, those are all spells they're really going to be concerned with come the end game.
Ooh, Chain +2 will give a nice little stack of Absorb for that red mage.
What is that number at the end? I am curious.
Well, the number at the end, and because of the Blurst flag, or if you go to the randomizer website, it would be random weapon bonus, random armor bonus. They're actually two separate flags. Will grant a number at the end of the equipment, and that number represents some different things depending on which piece of equipment it lands on. So, for example, Groggy Dog just picked up that knife +5, so that actually gives, I think, 2 attack plus per number. So that's +10 attack on that thing, in addition to some extra crit and some extra hit percentage. So that silver knife, which normally would not be very good piece of equipment, is actually very good with that +5 bonus. And the same way with the minus. If it's a -5, it actually makes the weapon worse. And it works the same for armor too, slightly. So for armor, chest pieces will get +2 absorb per number. So if it's +4, it would get +8. If it was -4, it'd get -8. But if it's on like a shield or a helmet, for example, it would just be +1 absorb per the number there.
Yeah, the critical hits and the number of hits on a weapon are actually much more important in some respects than the hit percentage or the amount of damage it does itself. Because with the way the game handles critical hits, pulling right through an enemy's absorb, I believe, it does a lot more damage just by getting those critical hits than by, for instance, having a higher damage weapon that doesn't have the critical hits, the extra hits to go along with it. Very important right there. And I see we have a couple instances so far of seeing the bridge boss right now. Hopefully they remember to save and don't have to worry about that. The bonuses are going to be very good. They help to redeem, as you noted, that silver knife, for example. That suddenly becomes a mid-game item. Someone else pointed out that we had wood armor +5, and that actually takes the wood armor, which is pretty crappy, and turns it into a really solid bit of mid-game gear right there.
We noticed on Burt Reynolds' side, too, that it looks like he's going to revive him. I was going to ask you, Dark Moon, if you think Burt was actually leaving them on the ground on purpose. But
it depends. I mean, it depends on what you're focused on and what you're really worrying for. The black belt changes the whole dynamic of the game in comparison to like if they'd had a fighter, for example. And for those of you wondering, the black belt and the thief are two incentivized classes that got bid for this marathon, and thank you very much for that. So when you're worried about black belt strats, you're only really worried about specific types of gear, specific items you're going to be picking up, and with the spells that we have, you're not really worried about much of anything right there. Like, for a solid black belt, you're mostly just concerned with, at this point, finding a good grind tile, having enough key items to get the bonus in for that, because we usually have a key item bonus to experience, and just, like, finding a way to get your One-Punch Man up to being a One-Punch Man, and being able to one-punch things. That's the formula right there.
Exactly. That black belt can really turn a difficult Temple of Fiends Revisited into an easy one. Absolutely. Because the HP of the stats of these bosses are scaled. Now, the scaling is pretty generous for this seed, so I think it's 30% to 230%, meaning that you could have lower HP than vanilla, or you could have double the HP of vanilla.
So we got a couple of interesting plays going on right here. For one, Bert is going up to this tiny little peninsula right here, which, if you remember from your Nintendo Power days, is what we call the Peninsula of Power. The way the game is laid out, encounter zones are done in giant squares, and the squares lay out across the world map, so that encounters within those zones will appear wherever that square lands up at, 8x8 grid. The fact is that this particular little area here, from that top peninsula down to the bottom peninsula, overlaps slightly, so that you can get really tough monsters in this really early zone, and it makes the whole grinding early on, if you want to, a bit easier, especially with the spells we have, because we have monster spells. The other thing that I want to point out that's fascinating is Groggy Dog took a play over here into Marsh Cave. Marsh Cave, from the flags that we have set up right now, is not incentivized. So this was actually a gamble play on his part, and it paid off, as we noticed, because he got the Adamant. What does the Adamant do? Dwight?
The Adamant is going to allow us, since we have Fetch Quest NPCs incentivized in this flag set, in the randomizer, you can select when you shuffle the key items if you want to incentivize Fetch Quest NPCs or not. And since they are, Groggy knows that he is either going to find one of the key items to complete the game, or he is going to find one of the incentivized pieces of equipment, which is the Thor Hammer, the Opal Bracelet, and the Power Gauntlet. So this is a really good pickup. If this has something like the Floater, for example, this could put Groggy Dog way ahead of Bert if Bert decides that he is going to skip Marsh, for example.
Yeah, it could hold Bert back a bit, especially if this Adamant leads to something really good. Something else I want to point out, this is just for the watchers keeping up with this right now. Our fabulous tracker, Danny3883, is keeping track of what's going on with all the key items. Unfortunately, the tracker right now is having just a little bit of an issue clicking the wrong things when you click on certain items. So she's working her way through it, and she will try and get this tracker lit up as best as she can, just as soon as she figures out where all the buttons are.
So, Darkmoon, I noticed that Groggy Dog actually skipped the top left room there in the Marsh Cave bottom. Why did he do that?
That's because he's already checked those chests in the top floor of Marsh Cave entirely. Those chests are linked, and there are a number of instances where this happens throughout the game, where a chest in one area is linked to a chest in the other. If you get the treasure out of one, you get the treasure out of both. And if you see that the treasure isn't necessary, and you reset out of the dungeon, no reason to check the other chest to get the exact same treasure again. You already know what it is.
For those paying attention in the vanilla game, too, they would know that that chest right there in the Marsh Cave that is surrounded by those little spike bricks, normally is where you find wizards, but Groggy found blue dragons there. That is because the randomizer actually shuffles spike tiles as well.
It can. That is one of the many flags that we have available to us. And it's worth pointing out right now that if you're familiar with the vanilla game, you're probably used to people going over here to Marsh Cave. When you play the vanilla game, after you've defeated Garland, got the bridge and the loot from Sarah, which, bear in mind, we still don't have that loot. That is a key item we will need later, and we'll explain why. You then go over to Provoca, which was a Provoca in this particular instance, because randomizer. You fight some pirates, you steal their boat because heroism. And then you get out into the world, and the first thing you discover is that you're blocked from being able to escape the Circle C. You got to go to Marsh Cave to get the crown, to go take that over to the kindly old king at Northwest Castle, who reveals himself to be an evil elf all along. You get the crystal from him. You take that to Matoya. She gives you the herb. You take that to the prince. The prince gives you the key. You'll note that we went to Marsh Cave and had none of that happen. Those items are just scattered across the world, and we'll figure all that out when we get to it. Do take the adamant from Marsh Cave over here to the Beardy McSwordsmith. Managed to get the TNT from him because lazy dwarves. And we can immediately go down here to the TNT turret and see what we get out of it. And it is... Wow, that's the laziest of dwarves, Dwight. That's the key.
Yep, the laziest dwarves. That key is actually a huge pickup. That means that marsh dive's required. Because you actually need the key to complete the game. It turns out that in the vanilla game, one of the doors in the Temple of Fiends Revisited is actually locked by the Mystic Key. And unless you actually talked to the talked to that door, you would never know because you would already have the Mystic Key way prior. So this could be a huge advantage to Groggy Dog actually making that play to Marsh and getting that key. In addition to the fact that he gets to find that black shirt +4, which is going to be huge for his Black Wizard should he choose to promote.
Not just the black shirt. I also want to point out there was a light X in there, which this early in the game, even with the good spells they have, is useful because it lets your black belt do something else against the undead instead of just punching. And there was a ribbon -2, which, bear in mind, the ribbon only has 1 point of absorb on it to begin with. The negative does not become a negative amount of absorb. It can't go any lower than 1, so it's still a ribbon, even with a funny number after it. Meanwhile, the Bert turns in that bottle at Crescent Gaia, gets himself the cube, but he has no way just yet of actually getting into Mirage Tower because he doesn't have the chime.
Burt Reynolds is canoeing over to what looks like he's going to go into the volcano.
It's a play I'd make. I like this play. You're early on. You haven't hit Marsh, as he hasn't, so you don't know what all is available over there. You are looking for places to go. You got the early canoe, so that gives you access to this side of the map, which you might not have realized is connected to the rest of Circle C if you only play vanilla. So the volcano has enemies that are within range of what you can do to kill, especially with Nuke and Fade. They're a good experience for the level you're at. Some good shuffled tiles to see what's here on these spikes, and a lot of treasure, especially on the top floor here, because the volcano treasury has a lot. Oh, looks like we saw something.
That is huge. That Marsh Adamant led to the floater in our incentive Carnaria locked chest. So Groggy is going to get to fly around the map instead of sail around like Bert will have to.
So key and floater plus canoe. We're still missing some specific key items to unlock things, but this is starting to feel like a pretty jetty seed. Oh, but only jetty note, because someone decided to make the crazy marsh.
Yeah, you have to kind of give it to Groggy Dog there for that marsh play.
Some gambler strats.
Yep, definitely came up big for him. He is going to be in the air and have every entrance in the game unlocked to him. He's going to be able to find Provoca, get that level 2 magic. We haven't seen that.
Yep. So I'm curious for you, because this is I've already said that I would make the play differently. I would have gone to Volcano. I'm a hardline Nevermarsh kind of person. I really hate that dungeon. What would you have done in this particular instance? Let's say you were dumped just straight into the sea, didn't realize what was in Marsh. Would you have made that Marsh play, or would you have gone somewhere else?
I would be doing the exact same thing as Burt Reynolds, most likely. I will not, unless something in Marsh Cave is incentivized, I basically don't go there unless I have any other choice.
What you're saying is that if we were the two featured runners on screen, we'd take this jetty seed and make it to an easy 2.5 hours.
Exactly.
Harm 4 also being available here at the White Magic Shop. Now, you have Fade. You might not care as much about that, but Harm 4 basically does just somewhere around Fade damage to the undead. If you're in a tight spot and need to cast a spell to try and get rid of an undead pack in front of you, Harm 4 is a nice pickup to have, just in... Haven't seen much of note over here at the treasury right now. Oh, never mind. There's a Sun Sword +5. That red mage can automatically swing that right there, and now he's going to be able to haul out really good damage, even if he doesn't decide to use magic. Because a +5 on a sword that could technically be endgame is gigantic.
Exactly, and I can't say it's a complete gamble from Groggy Dog here too, because he could have been in Marsh Cave, kind of hoping to find the canal there. Because he has access to that Fire 3 and that Fade, he probably maybe felt like he needed a couple of levels before he goes and tries to make a meaningful dive out of Volcano. And so there are 2 loot items, so he's like, well, I can get some levels in here, and some equipment, and some exploration, and it ended up paying off huge.
Oh, gigantic right now. Something else about that Sun Sword that I want to point out that Ragnarok, our resident gambler in chat, has noted, is the fact that you have the Sun Sword, you have a ribbon, if you decide to follow Groggy Dog's steps there and hit the Dwarven Treasury, which he is right there in the Dwarven area. I don't see why you wouldn't. But that Sun Sword right there, paired up with a Black Belt who you don't want to promote, and there's a reason, we'll get to that in just a second, means that you pretty much have a team right here, the Nuke, the Fade, the Exits, the Cure 4. I don't know if we saw Life yet, I don't know if it matters that much when you have a Black Belt. You kind of have a party right now with composition and equipment. That means you never have to promote if you don't want to. Why would they not want to promote in this particular instance?
Well, with the Black Belt, Burt Reynolds finds the loose rod in the volcano. That's pretty big. Help. That's also required. Both loose are required in this seed.
And that's an item. That's an item location that a lot of people like to last location to just orphan, because the hairpin is a pain in the butt to get to. So, back to the question I was asking. Promotion.
So, with this particular party, we have kind of a balance. We don't want to promote early because of how the magic defense growth works on a Black Belt. Sarda has the Chime, so that unlocks the full Sky Dungeon for us if Groggy wants to go there. Because of the magic defense growth being double that of the Black Belt versus the Master. So basically, once you promote, each level up only gives you half the magic defense that a non-promoted Black Belt would gain. On the other hand, the gambit of promoting early is a little bit better because we have a Thief, which gets promoted to a Ninja. Which, if you promote too late, it can be very difficult to get those black magic charges on that Ninja. So we'll be curious to see what these runners decide to do.
And they do have a Sun Sword +5, which the Ninja can swing. The Thief can't, but the Ninja can. And if you want to go hardcore Thief strats right there, you could. Do it early enough, you get those magic spots, as you noted. But you also get... The Thief has been buffed in the Randomizer, because Thieves in the general game aren't that great. The Thief here... and we have a tail, which makes Thief class change a possibility. The Thief here has double the hit percent growth that he has in the vanilla game. And that actually makes him, although weaker than the fighter as far as health and damage is concerned, actually much stronger than the... Vorpal minus 4. Much stronger than the fighter when it comes to their number of hits. And as we noted before, when it comes to critical hits, you actually want a lot of critical hits. The more regular hits you have, and the better your crit rate, the more likely you are to get more critical hits on the hits you do. A Thief having double the hit percentage is just a massive critical hit machine. And we noticed we had that Vorpal minus 4. The minus 4 sucks. That means it's not going to do as much damage, and it does take a slight hit to its critical hit percentage. But the Vorpal and the Katana in the Randomizer have the highest hit critical percentage in the game by like a stupid long shot. You can have a minus 5 Vorpal or Katana and a plus 5 Masamune, what's generally considered the best endgame weapon, and the Vorpal still outperforms it. So that Thief is looking like a good buff.
So the best thing... Oh no, this is what I was afraid of.
Yeah.
Bert has found the canal in the volcano, which means he's likely never going to Marsh.
Yeah. So anyway. I thought you were saying something. Maybe you weren't. Anyway, we are here with Groggy Dog over at Earth, which is a surprising move on his part, primarily because of the fact that he doesn't have the rod that Bert has, and that's One of the few things that's helping Bert right now is the fact that Groggy doesn't know where that rod is and might not bother to check the hairpin turns on Volcano anytime soon.
Looks like Groggy was just making a quick check of the Earth 1
Smart
floor, and then just resetting if he didn't find what he's looking for.
Well, if you've been watching the spring tournament, which I know you have just like I have, our spring tournament just wrapping up this weekend, in fact, there's been a lot of instances with the way the loose items have been distributed by the game, where a key item they need has been there at Earth 1. He was probably hoping he could just pick up the rod on Earth 1 and just clear out Earth. Instead, he had to fly away, and now he's checking the Oasis to see what the key items are. And there's the slab at the Oasis for almost max price. Not going to be buying that anytime soon. I want to note that if it wasn't for the stun touch here, this would actually be a fantastic pack. The Sabertooths and Medusa. It's a good experience tile, but unfortunately, they were hitting way too hard and had stun touch and wiped out that black belt. So,
fortunately, the Red Wizard has life, maybe? Maybe not?
I'm not certain about that. I don't think we're going to see him fight Carrie, that's for sure. Meanwhile, we have found Melmond over here at the on-rack location, with Lock 2 and Ice 3 available. Lock 2 has been improved in the randomizer. Dwight, do you want to explain?
Yeah, so in the vanilla game, the lock spells were, well, for lack of a better term, useless. They actually, they're supposed to, if you to mention Nintendo Power again, if you read the description on the spell, it's supposed to reduce the evasion of the enemy that you cast it on. However, in this case, in the vanilla game, it actually, for one, was really not accurate, and if it did land, it actually raised the evasion. So it's actually fixed in the randomizer to not only always land, but it reduces the evasion just like it is supposed to.
I want to point out, we just had a solo red mage who admittedly had the sun sword right there and a lot of good magic, but we just had the solo red mage actually go and take out Carrie all on his own. Bert is apparently much better at this game than I am, because I wouldn't have done that.
That just shows you the power of that sun sword plus 5.
Yes. Hugely overpowered with the blurs on it. In case you were wondering, in the vanilla game, the accuracy of Lock and Lock 2 was, I believe, 3%, or at least it was 3% for Lock. It might have been even worse because it was multi-target, and the multi-target spells generally have a worse 2-hit chance. But the Lock did not work the way it was supposed to. Heck, a lot of spells didn't work the way they were supposed to. Temper, for example.
Bert's going to lose a little bit of time here, because he walked all the way to town, and I think he might be out of save items, and got into a 9 enemy unrunnable pack and reset all the way back to the volcano.
No, he had a house there. I just think he was trying to save his houses so he didn't have to deal with it. But yeah, that was a particularly nasty little fight he got right there. Got a little hosed by it, but he's getting out of it. Meanwhile, Groggy is over here at the Waterfall, since he was in the on-rack location. Waterfall in the vanilla game has the cube that you get from a kindly robot that speaks gibberish to you. But here, instead, he's going to be finding whatever it is that the robot has, because robot generally always has something. So we'll find out. In fact, he might have already done it, and I've already missed it, or we're in... Is this a randomized waterfall? It is! I missed that. This is a procedurally generated waterfall. Dwight, what is going on with this layout?
So one of the other awesome things about the randomizer is that the Waterfall Dungeon, among other things too, you can actually generate a couple of floors in the Earth Cave as well if you so chose, gets randomly generated each time the seed is rolled. So you'll actually have to explore it and figure out which path it is. Sometimes it is very kind and the door is simply right next to where you enter. Other times it is not, and it will loop and you have to dig, and he finds the oxale. That's a required item. I don't know if we've seen Onrak yet, but that will give him access to the Sea Shrine in the location wherever Onrak is.
I'm betting at this point that Onrak is probably over at the Gaia or Luthane locations because we haven't seen it, which once again just means that that floater is as required as it could be. If one thing that does help is the fact that if Onrak really is in a floater-locked location, it eliminates at least one dungeon Bert might mistakenly go in full clear before he finally goes over to Mars.
Yeah, the more things that are floater required will actually benefit Bert's ability to catch back up because of the fact that it reduces the amount of places, just like you said, that he can go to try to find that floater.
Bert also putting a good use of that warp spell right there. Warp is a very powerful spell for exploration because of the fact that it can take you to the previous floor. It's locked in vanilla game until post-class change level 5 of Magic, but having it this early means that you can use and abuse it in all kinds of ways. And speaking of abusing, it does look as though Bert is going to go in full clear Ice Cave, and the warp spell is going to come in very handy there. And Dwight, I will let you showcase that once we get to it.
Sounds good. Once we get there, we'll check it out, because it's one of the awesome things about the randomizer.
Mm-hmm. So we're flying up, up, and away right here, working our way towards where, Groggy? Looks like Gaia and Lufane area. Gonna do Gaia first. Gaia doesn't require a long walk. That makes a whole lot of sense right there. And yep, there is Onrek. That sea shrine right there is floater required. So Marsh Cave leading to Adamant, leading to Key, leading to Floater. That is a series of quests that they are going to have to do just to be able to get through this game.
And the sea shrine is in a very deep well this game, because Gaia is landlocked.
Yep. Well, it's a good underground like cavern right there that leads to it. It could work. Ooh, we got our nice steak and wings platter right here, the Tayo Wyvern pack that Groggy is going to try and take. This is a lot of great experience if you can take them out, but generally speaking, the Tyro likes to fight back.
Yeah, the Tyro is one of the highest experience encounters you can get on the overworld. And so, yeah, and then the nuke rolling 390, very high damage. Good, because Groggy needs these levels. He's only around a level 11 on his party, so
yeah,
definitely use a couple levels before he starts diving dungeons.
9 to 11 at the 30-minute mark is kind of rough if you're thinking about doing a Black Belt dive, because Black Belt needs all the levels it can get. If you're familiar with Final Fantasy IV, for example, the Yang character there, all of his stats are basically built on what level he's at, and it works the same way for the Black Belt monk here in the vanilla game, because Final Fantasy IV took a lot of inspiration from this.
Life 2 at level 2. There we go.
More importantly over here as well, along with that, we also have Brack to balance out the black magic there. So, Life 2, Heal 3, Brack. Brack is a great spell when we actually start trying to take on character or monsters like Kraken and Tiamat, because they can actually die to that instant death spell. And why actually take your time fighting someone when you can just kill them instantly?
Exactly. So, Groggy getting even compounding the advantage of finding that floater early, because level 2 magic is good and at Provoca, and Provoca's in Lefane. So, and the Power Gauntlet. Wow.
Power Gauntlet's an item that allows you to cast Saber upon yourself. Saber, a spell that is definitely fixed in the randomizer. It's like Temper Plus, and is a hugely good item if you need it. Gold plus 2 bracelets for 10 grand a pop. Would not be surprised if Groggy buys his fill of those, because, yeah, well, he has one, so he could buy 2 more, class change his black mage for the last one, because that black shirt's basically a gold bracelet plus, and then he's good to, or he could just walk away. Okay. Sure, Groggy, whatever.
Well, Groggy's thinking he's got that slab in the back of his mind. He knows he might need to go buy that slab, and that slab was 59k at the Oasis. So I don't mind him saving some cash there.
Totally. So, I was talking about this earlier, Dwight. We just saw Bert standing on a hole in the middle of Ice Cave and checked 3 chests at once before dropping back down. How the heck did he do?
So in the vanilla game, the spell Warp actually functions the exact same in the randomizer. It simply returns you back to the entrance of the previous floor of whatever dungeon you're in. So if you're in a town, it'll exit you out of the town. If you go down a staircase, it'll put you back at the exact same staircase it goes down. In this case, in the ice cave, there's all these little holes. So you can actually walk around to the back, step down the hole, cast warp, and get back to the top. That trick is not available. It actually is available in the vanilla game, but you can't use it because, well, the game teases you. Warp is in Melman at level 5, but you need promotion to be able to cast it. So, it don't work.
Yeah, it's pretty cruel. The two great dungeons that really could use warp, the Ice Cave and Castle Ordeals, which ironically Groggy is going to right now, both of them could benefit from having warp, and you can't use warp in these ones because you need to get promotion out of Ordeals to be able to get there, and Ordeals is floater locked in the vanilla game, so Ice Cave is also barred. It's like warp is a really great spell, but it would be really nice if you could have warp for the dungeons it seems like it is handmade for. Meanwhile, it looks like Bert has found a grind he actually likes. He is grinding these fighters that are worth a solid amount of experience, trying to get his black belt to the point where he can actually do damage and start clearing out this dungeon and the rest of the game. So Groggy has an exploration lead by a long shot at this point because of that floater, but Bert is definitely starting to pack on the level lead.
That's very true. Unfortunately for Bert, he's not going to be able to complete this seed floaterless. Some seeds in the randomizer could actually be completely... You could finish the game. You could, make it into the Temple of Fiends and defeat Chaos without the floater. This is not one of those.
It is not, but and I think that's part of what's holding Bert back. He's on this river system for these two dungeons he's checked out, and they have been wretched river encounters. It's just constant and really nasty river encounters. So he's been stuck dealing with a lot of unrunnables and nasty hitting enemies and so forth. It's taken him a lot of time, which has given Groggy the lead that he has right now. But having so many levels on his black belt's actually starting to whack away pretty good. It's gonna potentially help him out if he can get this train a roll-in at some point.
Oh, absolutely. Bert's going to be able to, at least to his advantage, he'll be able to clear out the dungeons a lot faster. And so that might speed him up as he's doing his full clears. He won't have as much trouble. So.
Plus, bear in mind, he still has a 1 crystal lead over Groggy because he might not have explored as many dungeons, but he did explore the volcano completely and managed to light one of his 4 crystals right now, so he does have that on Groggy as well. Groggy, however, does make it over to Ordeals and gets himself the loot.
Yep. Loot required item to break the thing. Bert finds a defense sword. That's absolutely huge. The defense sword, well, what does that do for him?
So there's a spell in the game called Ruse that gives you... So to use the math of the randomizer, because that's what we normally do, if you cast Invis upon yourself, you need 6 casts of Invis to get to full evasion and avoid all but critical hits from your enemies. If you cast Ruse on yourself, you get 2 quote-unquote Invis casts for the price of 1. It's single target, but it's huge. Defense Sword allows you to cast Ruse upon yourself for free. So cast Defense Sword on yourself 3 times, and you get yourself all the stacks of evasion you need against any of the bosses you're looking for. Something else I want to point out, we found Opal 5 armor over in Ordeals. If we had a fighter, that would be fantastic after class change. Unfortunately, we don't. Oh no! The wizards are ambushing you with damage poison and rub. Oh!
I think Bert just lost his grind.
He did. He lost the 5-10 minutes he spent in here and just got completely annihilated by that ambush pack.
Our runners are going to high-five here a little bit in the ice cave as Groggy continues his exploration. Let's see if he runs into damage poison wizards.
Yeah, and this is definitely going to put Bert probably 15 minutes behind Groggy at this point minimum. That was a very costly wipe on top of the fact that Groggy is right here, and with the gear and levels he's already gathered, isn't going to have any better advantage than Bert in it, but he's not going to have any worse of a time either.
Remember, though, Bert does have an advantage, and that advantage is that he has the rod that he found loose in the volcano hairpin chests. If Groggy doesn't check those and has to spend a bunch of time running around the world later to locate that rod, it could allow Bert to catch back up.
I would grant you that. The one issue I have is the fact that Groggy is in a position right now to, because of where he's at, what he's explored so far, where he's gone, We know he's already checked Ordeals, he's already checked Waterfall, he's checked all of the incentive locations that are easy to get to now that he's done Ice Cave as well. At that point, he's going to be looking at proximity plays and where he can actually get into and clear. So it's Sea Shrine, because he has Oxyale. He does have Chime, because he got that from Sarda, so he could do Sky Palace if he wanted to, because that's entirely unlocked to him. And then we have Fire Cave, the volcano, which is right nearby. Now, Sky Palace might have more chests, but if you're going proximity play, the right thing to do right there would be to go to the volcano. I think that's the play I would make in this particular instance if I was in his shoes. So we'll just have to see how this works out.
Yeah, it's very possible he'll just pop right over to Volcano. Looks like he fought the fighters a couple of times, but then is deciding to full clear out ice here.
Yeah. Bert did find a good grind tile as well with those zombie dragons. Doesn't quite get him back to where he was with a single encounter, but it wasn't bad. And it does look as though he's going to take a second round just to try and get a little more experience, so long as he doesn't get completely destroyed when he gets ambushed, which, oof, kinda did.
And Groggy's a little bit protected from that danger of those damage poisons. He has that ribbon he found in the Dwarf Cave, so...
Actually, far as I know, damage poison is non-elemental. I'd have to have someone in chat confirm that, because I know most poison things are elemental in damage, but there are 3 different poisons, and... Okay, cool. Thank you, I have chat confirming for me. I always get confused over the 3 different types of poison damage things that we have. Thank you. So it is poison damage, so you are correct. The ribbon will protect him.
Well, Bert made it out without getting two damage poisoned this time, and we'll take his herb and leave and probably go track it down, which we'll see what it leads to.
The hope for Bert at this point is that when he's in the proximity of Marsh Cave by being over at Elfland, he just decides to say, okay, well, I might have the canal, but let's just try and get through this with, like, Marsh Cave right now because I'm here. If he doesn't do that, he is going to spend a lot of time on the overworld, not going where he needs to.
The good news is he's kind of running out of spots, right? So... he can't go to Gaia, he can't go to Lefane. He really can only go to Waterfall, Sea Shrine, and Ordeals. Which Ordeals can be pretty fast because he has Warp. And Groggy made it through pretty quickly because I think the maze is pretty easy. By the way, that maze we did not mention earlier and we should have, that maze in Ordeals is actually randomized as well, with these flags turned on. But, so hopefully, maybe he could catch back up.
Well, because he has the canal... he's able to go to Earth Cave. He's able to go to... I believe we have the full open progression on. At least as far as everything except Floater is concerned. So he should be able to go over to the Waterfall area. He can go over to Ordeals area because he has the canal. There is or canoe. He has a fair bit of stuff he actually can do, which actually is a problem at this point, because in the position he's in, the less places he can go, the better.
He got the crown, so he's going to head up to Northwest Castle.
It's a good play. He'll come here and get the Thor Hammer, which is not progression, which in his particular instance is actually a good thing that we know, because he needs to not get progression that sends him elsewhere.
Based on... Yep, Asta's packing heat.
And unfortunately, that black belt is still not really cranking out the damage just yet. He's still too low of a level, unfortunately because those wizards decided that they weren't playing around at all.
Groggy looks like he's going to head maybe back to pick up that slab, and he is going to maybe make the proximity play you were talking about and going ahead and clearing out that sea shrine. This could be good for Bert because Groggy hasn't found the second loose yet, so he might dig around, he might run up Mermaid's side and do that thing.
Yeah, the longer it takes for him to go to Volcano, the more likely Groggy is to full clear everything else. That is a big thing for him. Just gotta figure out what he's gonna do. He thought about going northward for a second and then decided not to. He's coming back over. Is this going to be a Sea Shrine proximity play? It looks like it will be.
Well, I don't think so. I think, isn't Melman here? Because Onrak,
Oh,
the
you're correct,
Sea Shrine is in
He's
Gaia.
turning in his slab. He's turning in his slab. You're right.
Which is smart. Groggy wants to know if the last loose is required. So if he goes and tracks down all of his possible incentive locations and does all of the turn-ins, he'll know whether or not he needs his loose. So that'll indicate whether or not he full clears his Fiend Dungeons. Which we know, he does need it.
So the slab translation turned in. Won't be surprised to see him wander over to Lufane, so we can do that check. Meanwhile, Bert is still trying to get himself out of this area. You can just see the key difference between like going through things by land versus via air, where you don't have to have encounters. Because Bert is just struggling to get through this whole set of exploration, while Groggy got through it like it was nothing.
Groggy trying to remember where Lufane was.
Yeah, Shuffle Towns is kind of annoying. Won't lie about that. Is it Lufane Melmond, the ever famous Lufmund? And it is. We have our Lufmands over here.
In this randomizer too, Town Shuffle is only the tip of the iceberg. You could turn on full entrance shuffle, or you could even go crazier and turn on entrance and floor shuffle.
Yeah, there's a lot of good features in the randomizer, depending upon how easy or how hard you want to make it upon yourself. As Groggy goes and gets that crystal from the Lufenish people, so he can turn this in, help the Old Witch see, and get a Opal -5, which, gross. I think the gold +2 might actually.
You're right, Dark Moon. The gold +2 is actually better than the Opal -5. So that was kind of just a whammy.
I mean, it's not terrible armor. It's still better than, like, the silver, which I think the silver was -2 as well in this instance. But it's still better than the silver in general, even if the silver had a +5 on it. But you were better off with those gold bracelets. So at least you don't have to buy one. I guess that's the benefit. Groggy with the key. Looks as though he's going to go start checking key-locked Topher. Means he is definitely in the hunt right now to try and figure out what that last loose is. He is not ready to just call it quits and assume he doesn't need it, because we all know he does. Ooh, Iron Galls. This is a lovely grind.
Yeah, Iron Goal is great.
Less than 360 health, too, so that is a possibility right there. Just pop some houses outside, heal up, get your charges back, come in here and do nukes and fades until they die. That would be a fantastic grind right there, and would help to balance out whatever spell advantage that Bert has over Groggy.
And that black belt is already dealing 100 damage to that Iron Goal at the low level it already is too. So,
yeah,
oh boy, Iron Goal coming up big,
coming up huge right there. Not going to take this other one. We need to see whether or not he's going to exit and decide to come back in or not. He's got most of the key items at this point, although we will acknowledge the tracker is not getting properly lit because there's a problem with it right now. But trust us, he has most of the key items that he needs at this point. This is the prime time for Groggy to do a grind, because he's going to get almost all the experience bonus he can get out of it. Like, you get that black belt up enough, and since you're only getting like one Iron Gall at a time, it's the perfect time to just bounce in there, try and get the black belt to the point where he can one-punch them down, get everyone else killed off, and then just start grinding. And that kind of looks like what he's going to do.
You could also just leave the casters up for as long as possible, too. The Thief, certainly, notably, is down as well. So,
yeah, no, absolutely, that is the case. Like, you do your spell burn here to try and get as many levels as you can on everyone, and then once your black belt is high enough, then you just start going with like a one punch man strats.
Bert discovered that the slab was in the Oasis. I guess while Groggy is, just massacring these Iron Goals, it's a good time to mention the Iron Goal community in the Final Fantasy Randomizer Discord.
Yes, that is our challenge league right there. We're actually entering. We did a preseason recently for a couple months while we were waiting for spring tournament to end. We are now officially heading into the full first season. It's kind of wrestling terms for battling in Final Fantasy. We invite everyone to come to the Discord community, which you can find along with the Randomizer itself over at FinalFantasyRandomizer.com. Join the community, check out the league, see all the fun random flags that we do, because Iron Gall is a crazy collection of just user-made flags, and have yourself a good old time. So,
yep, and if you're not, I'm just going to promote.
Yeah, that's what I was going to point out, is Groggy, despite the fact that he only got his black belt into, I think 21, 22, he's going to go promote now. I guess he's figuring that the ribbon he got and the gold or opal is going to be what the black belt wears, since he's not going to have as good of MDef growth as he could otherwise.
And that's okay. He might be wanting those charges on that ninja. We found some pretty good equipment for that ninja. We can equip that egg with that black +4, which, in addition to giving the same absorb as the gold bracelet, +8 absorb because it's on there. It also gives resistance to the time element, so that way those pesky zaps from those fiend bosses won't land as easily on that black wizard.
Time is the important element to note there, because there's not a lot of stuff besides that and the ribbon that provide time protection. The other thing that the black shirt does provide, which is of lesser note but still good, is also ice protection.
Oh, that's a good point out as well. Ooh, the Mazmoon +2. Ooh. All right.
Well, that is definitely going to get the black belt to the point where he can start one-hitting any of those Iron Galls whenever he decides to go back for that. Won't be quite as good as an upgrade because he's only getting, actually, I think it's only 1 point of MDef instead of 4 now. But if you're going to use the ribbon, who cares?
There was a question in the chat, what's the promotion give him besides the black shirt? It also gives him access, that red wizard, access to a couple of more spells that they previously could not access before. Such as
being one of them. Yeah.
And life, I believe, as well.
Promotion does aid him in a lot of respects. It's just there is that caveat about the fact that the black belt now has a worse MDef growth than he would otherwise. And considering where he was, and the fact that he could have just ground there for a while and gotten his black belt to the high 30s in preparation for whatever this Temple of Fiends throws at them at the end game, I don't know that I would have wandered off and class changed just yet. That's a curious move. One that if we have time for an interview at the end, we should definitely talk.
Definitely a good question to ask Groggy Dog. The boss duck himself, when we get him in for an interview, hopefully, if there's.
So, benefit to Burt Reynolds while he's going off and doing these various changes or exploration points that we know Groggy Dog did. Groggy, instead of going to Volcano, where we know the last loose is at, has cleared out the Cardia Islands, is now going up to Sky Cave, and is going to go clear them out too. Finds that the Nightmare Badman pack has damaged poison as well, which is still icky. This is going to help Burt because he knows where one of the loose is. He's just looking for one. Groggy knows where the other loose is, but he's still looking for one. So they're going to spend a lot of time circling around each other, unable to quite find the loose that they're looking for. Groggy also finds Flame Armor +5 here, which that +5 makes that Flame Armor for that ninja really nice.
Agreed. I understand why Groggy is going here. The Sky Cave has a lot of chests, and they're in quite close proximity. I am a big fan of Sky. We know that the rod is in the volcano, though.
There are a number of members of the community that really like the Sky Palace play. I can't argue with it. If you're in the proximity of it, it has the highest chest density of any place in the game. 53 chests in it, if you count both halves of the dungeon together. That is huge by a long shot. Another ribbon, too, in there. And that's the point of going to Sky Cave, is whether or not you find the loose item in here. Sky, because of all those chests, seems to have a high propensity for giving you all of the gear that you need to finish the game.
Zeus Gauntlet +5 might be decent. I think that ninja can equip that as well. If he decides to use the ninja again. If he doesn't use the ninja at all, I don't know why he promoted.
Yeah, he hasn't brought him up so he can start getting spell casts. He might really want that life spell or warp a wall or both for the red mage or exit, but it really is a curious move. I'm flabbergasted by it. I think it's the best way to.
Maybe Groggy knows something that I don't about that Opal bracelet, because I would think that that Opal +2 is actually better than that Opal -5.
We have Ragnarok in chat asking if I'd like to explain how Absorb works on a black belt. I'm not really that great at the game, so I can take a stab at it. Essentially, and I don't know the exact number of dots or points per level that the black belt gets, but the black belt earns on a linear line. Every single level, he gets additional damage, additional health, and additional absorb and MDef. But in the vanilla game, it's 4 points of MDef, and then before class change, 1 point after, which is part of the reason why he's so hobbled when you decide to early promote him. But he does also get, I think, 2 points of absorb per level, which means that if you have the black belt be naked black belt running around, he has a 2 points of absorb per level. So at like 42, when the black belt is cranking stuff out, that's I'm doing math on Twitch. 84 points of absorb, which is gigantic, huge. However, if you put a piece of gear on him, his absorb defaults to whatever the absorb is of the gear he's wearing. So, like, if you only slap a ribbon on him, he goes from, say, 90 or 84 absorb down to 1. So, yeah. That's part of the reason why we're curious about why he class changed, because if you not the MDef, you want to get that on a naked black belt, because you can get that from the ribbon, but then you have to take all the compromise about the armor and defense that he has that goes along with it.
Agreed, and I did a little bit of searching. So Groggy isn't too far off. So the -5 is actually going to penalize the Opal bracelet -10 absorb, giving it absorb of 24. That is exactly equal to the gold bracelet in vanilla, but this gold bracelet is +2, so that would actually make it 28 absorb. So while it's a little bit worse, it's not that big of a deal.
We do have fiery shadows here and ordeals. They had both fire and fire 3. Very spicy. Ooh, an ice +5 shield. That is a nice little bonus there as well to pair up with the flame armor he got, or that Groggy got, if he ever decides to come here, get that, and actually class change and use the thief properly. Also want to point out that chat did correct me. It's 1 point of absorb per level, but that's still a huge deficit that you're taking, going from like 48 or 42 damage or 42 absorb down to 1. Still is a question. And with the bracelets that they have and everything else, 42 black belt's going to have better MDef and better absorb just naked than you'll get with a master wearing gear.
Groggy is going to lose a little bit of time here, full clearing out Sky, but it shouldn't be too bad. Got that master swinging the Mazmoon.
Oh, those nightmare evil men with poison. Oh, that's ugh, gross.
Whew, they are unrunnable too.
You like damage poison? Because this is how you get damage poison.
I had forgotten that Life 2 was in Provoca, so that promotion to get Life at level 6 doesn't really seem
really curious,
good.
Isn't it? Yeah, really curious, especially when you're not bothering to bring the ninja back up. Like, I'm really confused by this. I mean, he has the lead. It may not penalize him in the end, but it's still a really weird move right there. Meanwhile, as Ragnarok in chat has pointed out for us, Bert has now learned that Onrak is floater locked, and he is going to have to go figure out where that floater is to be able to finish out this game. So now he needs to decide where he's going to go clear out, having done the key item locations that he needed to do anyway. He's here at Melmond, well, Melfland, or Melfane, I guess is the right way to put it. So now he's going to be like, does he go and do Earth Cave while he's here, or does he bother with the Crystal Turn-In, and then maybe think about going over and doing Marsh Cave after? We need to hope he does Marsh, because that will help him catch right back up.
Yeah, and if Bert does Marsh, finds the Adamant, which leads to the TNT, which leads to the key, which leads to the floater, All that stuff is right next to each other. He could make a play, make a run back. I did want to mention that even though Bert has not made the decision to go to Mars, he's doing fantastic for what he has.
Oh, he absolutely is. He's not really that far behind. He hasn't learned about the Iron Galls yet, so which might help him if he decides to do a grind. But despite not having the floater, he does have a crystal up on Groggy right now. He does have a lot of decent gear. He has a lot of world knowledge at this point. Despite being stuck on the sea and having to do a lot of encounters that he probably didn't want to, he's keeping decent parity with Groggy. It's just, at a certain point, Groggy could easily take off if Groggy wanted to.
Maybe since he's in the inner sea, he'll just make a cheeky marsh play.
I'm not thinking that now that he's sailing westward. I think we're going to see him do Earth Cave first, and then realize he's going to have to come and do Marsh after. Because he basically doesn't have much else, okay, no. Bert! Bert, listen to us, Bert! Bert! Sky is available. I mean, I think there's a faster way to get over to it than going southward from here, but it's available. If he hooks right at this point, he could be going for the Marsh play via Elf Castle, just taking the bottom dock, which is seeming no.
You're so close, Bert. So close.
We're screaming at you, Bert. Go make the turn. So yeah, Sky Palace it is right there.
There was a question in the chat: have we found all the loose?
We have.
From the commentary booth, we have found them. Neither runner has found all of the loose, though.
Yeah, we're in no mode right now because we know where the runners need to go to finish up the seed. Unfortunately, the runners are defying us at every turn. Groggy needs to go to Volcano, Bert needs to go to Marsh. That's where we're at right now. And unfortunately, both of them have ended up over here at Sky Palace.
And Groggy will go to Volcano as a factor of having to go there anyway. So
yes.
It's only a matter of time before he goes to Volcano.
He has Oxyale. He could go do Sea Palace first and finish that one out. But at a certain point, it's going to be the last place that he can get to because after Sea Palace, nothing else is going to be available to him.
Personally...
Oh, Wormek's required!
No bonus RNGs needed. Wormek is required.
So he's got defense, he's got invis 2. Warbeck is already missing, and he's going to start laying out with some nukes. Punch, nuke, nuke. See if we can get this Warmek to go down before too long. 4 hits for 250, follow up with a nuke. Warmek has absolutely no health. That's one of those times where you kind of wish Warmek was just loose in the world instead of being required right here, because we won't see him again. And that's a lot of experience you get for a very easy Warmek, all things considered.
Absolutely, and we'll see what Tiamat has to offer. Groggy going up with some defensive strategies. Similar strategy to what he implemented when facing a Warmek.
Bert is going to get some good gear. If he decides to class change eventually, his Thief is going to be in good position. He'll get the ribbon that's on the next floor. This isn't a bad play for him, quote-unquote, that will let him clear out another dungeon. It's just we really need him to go to Marsh if he's going to have a chance of keeping up with Groggy at this point. Also, Tiamat seems to have a decent amount of health and does not want to go down easily.
But it's just casting sleep spells, which is pretty nice. We're trying to give him the poison smoke treatment, but it did not work. Down Tiamat goes.
By the third round through. It's also something I found curious there, although it kind of worked out, all things considered. They had access to level 2 Brack. I don't even know if Groggy bothered buying it, but that might have sped up that fight just a little bit right there.
Brack having about a 25% chance to land
Here
on
it is.
Tiamat 1 and Kraken 1, and Groggy is headed to the volcano.
Groggy making the gamble play. We just need to see if Groggy decides to hit the hairpin or not. That would be the last thing that stoppers him right there. So question in chat about the classes, what was incentivized, what wasn't. We did have donation incentives in play for 2 of the classes, and those were picked out to be Burt Reynolds, no. Those were picked out to be Black Belt and Thief by the community at large. Your donations helped to make those 2 classes required, and the 2 runners decided both to just go with Red Mage, Black Mage on top of that to balance out their parties.
And we'll see if Groggy checks the hairpin chests here. Typically, he's been full clearing everything, so I imagine if he keeps that same behavior up, we'll see him do this. And I like this play personally by Groggy. I am going to try to full clear C last. That is usually my typical strategy.
Even if he decides to leave the hairpins for later, more than likely he'll be back to do them at some point. He might just go throughout the rest of the dungeon first before hitting those last few chests up top. It's a play on how many treasure chests are around and what's available, and I've seen a lot of runners do that before, like, clearing them.
And here he goes. He's headed up. We know he needs to go here. He is probably going to put the pedal to the metal as soon as he picks up this rod, too.
And Volcano's really not going to have anything that scares him at this point. That Black Belt's a decent level, his mages are a decent level. Volcano was really easy to get through because Burt Reynolds managed to finish it with a single red mage. This is not going to be a dungeon that stops him, I don't.
Not in the slightest.
Yep, there he goes. He's hitting in the hairpins. He will get his rod momentarily, be in go mode, and probably will not check any more chests after that. Not with 2 ribbons, the thief gear he has, defense sword, the spells he has. This should put him in go mode right around 1 hour, 6 minutes.
And on top of all the things that you just listed, he also has the Massa +2.
The rich get richer. Just needs to get away from this ambushing bull pack. Gets the rod. Would not be surprised if he decides to exit or warp out. There it is. Pop a house, probably. There it is. Venture back in, and let's see just how many greed chests Groggy decides to check.
I imagine that number will be very close to 0.
More than likely, yeah. Oh yeah, Red Mage is that Sunsword doing work, already taking out giants on his own. Really nicely done. I would not be surprised if by the time that Groggy is done with Kraken after this dungeon, Kraken and Lich, he doesn't have the level 32 he needs for his Black Belt. Probably doesn't need to grind anymore. Even if he does, it might just be 1 or 2 Iron Gulls, and then he'll be done at that point.
I am in full agreement with you on that one, Darkman.
So this is a lovely fight that Burt Reynolds has right here. The Metal Slimes, as we like to call them, are high experience, and they tend to go down to just a Fire 2 or Fire 3. He has Fire 3, that is their weakness. Easily burns them down. He's going to...
See how fast Groggy can get done here. He's going hard.
He's running hard on this for sure. You're going to have to take over on commentary for a second. My stream has crashed and is struggling.
I can take care of this. I think I'll just call the very, very short carry fight we're going to see Groggy do here. He is going to pull carry, and I think carry will not last a single round. That is my prediction.
I think I might just now be a couple seconds ahead of you, and she lasted exactly how long it took for me to refresh the commentary stream. Oh, that Black Belt doing work. So, with that, he travels over to Crescent Lake just to double-check gear and probably pick up spells and so forth. He is now, as we saw, basically in complete go mode. Can get those tempers and everything else he wants. I'm wondering if maybe Temper was one of the spells he was class changing for, but he looks like he already had it.
That could be. we will just have to ask Duckling Supreme himself when during hopefully the post-race interview. So how did Groggy get that nickname, Duckling Supreme, Darkman?
Well, you see, the duckling is a term that we use for our new players in the Final Fantasy Randomizer community. That was a term that actually existed before I joined up with the crew. But essentially, it's like if you're a new player and you want to be a part of the community and you want to join in events and so forth, you can assign yourself the duckling role on our Discord and call yourself a duckling. And then, twice yearly, we have what we call duckling derbies. That's when all the new players can join together for a little 4-game, 2-day race, or 2-week race, playing in flags that are easy but not too easy. Competing for the title of the Duckling Supreme. We've had 2 of them so far. Gouda, who's also now our Iron Gall chairman and creator, was our first Duckling Supreme, and then we had Groggy Dog, who earned the role afterwards in the second Duckling Derby, and then he... Oh, look, the Bat Party Room, where all the bats we don't like go. Groggy earned it in the second Derby, then he and Gouda competed for it, and Groggy actually beat Gouda, so he is the true Duckling Supreme in every term. It's worth noting that in just a week or so, we are really going to start ramping up for our new Duckling Derby, the 3rd one of its kind. So if you're new to the community and want to come join in, we invite you to do so. And you could have a chance of being the new Duckling Supreme and taking on Groggy in a fight to the finish.
Yeah, the Duckling Derby is going to be awesome. I'm very excited. Gregory Puff, who is the Duck Don, has cooked us up some amazing flags. I encourage anyone who was thinking about wanting to play the randomizer or join in the community to go to FinalFantasyRandomizer.com, join the Discord. It is awesome. People will show up to teach you how to play and what to do. It's truly great.
And I want to give Groggy a good shout out there for the Bat Party Room, because that's one of those meme rooms that we don't normally get to see. People run right past it. We'll meme in other ways, but that particular meme doesn't get a lot of love right there. So anytime that people decide to show off the Bat Party Room, I am fully on board with it.
So that room is a meme room, but it's actually could be useful. I have yet to utilize this, but that room is full of spike tiles.
It is. It's got 4 spike tiles in the middle of it, so if you're looking for a grind, I think it's actually elemental spike tiles, too. And by default, it's the earth elemental, but depending upon what's on the earth elemental tile, that can be a useful one. The thing about spike tiles is they don't increment your encounter rate in any way, shape, or form. So you can walk from one spike tile to the next with no gap between them, and you never increment your encounter rate and only get the spike tiles. So if there's a good grind on there, say for instance like an Iron Gall or the Third Eye grind, as we like to call it, when 3 eyes show up on a tile, that can be a fantastic room to grind in for a little while. I mean, you need like eggs or warp to safely get back out afterwards and save your grind, but it can be useful. Groggy also picking up fast level 7 for his Black Mage. That's going to be very nice. And it looks like he's gearing up to go right into...
He could have promoted to get that fast, I think, right? He needs promotion to get that?
I'm not so good on the spell levels when it comes to 6 and above, but I'm fairly certain that one was probably promotion locked. I mean, it's the thing again of... And I don't mean to harp on this, but he could have done all of this after getting his black belt the rest of the way. He definitely is going to have the levels on the black belt to probably get through this Topher. It's just an interesting compromise he did to do it when he did.
Crabcakes in chat pointing out that fast was promotion locked.
Yep. So with the temper and fast being class locked, we at least know why he decided to promote long term. He needed those spells. Fast doubles the number of hits that your character pops out, because it's basically the equivalent of haste in later games, except that Final Fantasy, the original, does its fasting differently. Later games, you have an ATB bar, and it just speeds up how fast your ATB bar goes. But the ATB bar didn't exist in the first 3 games, so when you get quote-unquote fasted, instead of actually speeding up how many turns you get, and how often you get your turns, because this game is very rote and rigid, each person goes once per round. Instead, it increases your speed by giving you more hits with your weapon, and when you do fast, you get double the amount of hits with your weapon. So fast is fantastic. Temper is also good because it increases the amount of damage you're kicking out with your attacks. You have to do a few tempers a few times to really start seeing the impact of it, but you pair the two together and you start taking on some of the bosses, and it's phenomenal. Speaking of taking on bosses, though, Bert has taken out his second with Tiamat right there. Still puts him one behind where Groggy Dog was, but it's progress for him. He's just going to need to figure out where he's going next, and I am afraid he might decide to go in full clear Earth.
I imagine, since he technically has to go to Earth Cave to complete the game, that is what he will do.
Oh, more than likely, yeah. I think it's a given. I don't think he's going to want to go to Marsh. He's been avoiding Marsh this whole time. Groggy is a gambler, and Groggy is a proponent of always Marsh. He's a lot like our one of our previous admins in the community, Caleb, in that respect. Caleb is an always Marsher, too. So since Marsh was there, I'm not surprised he went and did it. It was a good gamble play, and in this particular instance, instead of potentially being a 5-minute time loss, it has given him a staggering lead because of what was down. So want to point out that we are playing right now a seed from the beta version of Final Fantasy Randomizer. You can get to it from the FinalFantasyRandomizer.com website by simply typing beta instead of www in the address. We also have an alpha channel as well with some really interesting stuff going on in the experimental section. Blurst, the blessings and curse on weapons and armor, is a feature that's in the beta version of the game. So it's one of those things where, to showcase this for the race, we had to use the beta channel for it. But we invite you to come and check out beta and alpha. If you're going to check out alpha, you might also want to join the dev Discord, which is also available from FinalFantasyRandomizer.com. And you can check out all the cool stuff and add your input in on what works, what doesn't, what might need to be tweaked. We invite everyone to join our community and help us out make this randomizer even better.
Truly is awesome, and Groggy Dog makes very short work of Kraken.
I didn't even see him. I was talking.
Flying directly to the Temple of Fiends Revisited. So right at the hour 16 mark, we are going to see Groggy Dog enter the Temple of Fiends Revisited and head 2,000 years in the past to break the time loop.
Nice and jetty this seed has been for Groggy. We did have a question in chat about why the Wiz-Sahag R-Sahag pack in water was runnable. Clearly that's someone who actually knows what's going on with that particular pack. The Wiz-Sahag Red-Sahag pack in the vanilla game is tied to the pirates. It is always unrunnable because the pirates have to be unrunnable, otherwise you can run from their encounter and somehow get the ship for free. Don't want to do that. So
Worms immediately squint at the life caster.
That's funny.
And Groggy resets.
That is funny. So when you play the main channel of the randomizer right now, the Wiz-Sahag R-Sahags are currently still unrunnable. But one of our fabulous devs figured out how to uncouple the encounters. So the Wiz-Sahag R-Sahag pack on beta and alpha, and hopefully on final before too long, will no longer be a permanently unrunnable pack, and we can finally run from that wretched 9-pack for once. Crabcake's asking if that was Squint through a ribbon. I'm pretty certain that was Squint through a ribbon, because he's got 2 ribbons, and I'm sure one of them is probably on the Lifecaster, because why wouldn't you put it on there otherwise?
It definitely was Squint through a ribbon.
Bert, unfortunately, having to check all the chests here, because he's a Never Marsher, and this is just putting him further and further behind at this point. It's going to take, I don't know, Dwight, what do you think, like 3 Topher wipes for Bert to catch up at this point?
Absolutely. Groggy would have to wipe on Chaos probably 3 times before Bert. If Bert continues with the current state that he's been doing things, full clearing all the dungeons, he's going to end up last locationing basically the loose adamant that he needs to lead to his floater. So, and I just don't see a world where that happens, unfortunately, because Groggy has those iron goals in the Temple of Fiends spike tile on the top floor. So if he wipes once, he's just going to walk, massacre some iron goals, and then go back down.
One thing to note is that Groggy does not have, apparently, a bracelet on his black belt, only the ribbon, and that's going to tie back into something we were talking about earlier. If you don't have any gear paired up with that ribbon on your black belt is only going to have an absorb of 1 instead of what his level is at. That hurts. You are much better off equipping a full class changed master than trying to squeak by, because he is just not going to be able to make it through. And you can see, Groggy is using up a lot of healing resources trying to keep that black belt standing.
Is that black belt punching, or is it swinging the Masa?
Masamune right now. If he's below level 32, I do believe that the Maza is actually slightly better damage, although not as good as hits. So I think it's kind of a wash. Once you get up around 32, you are much better off swapping out the Masamune, if I'm not mistaken. Although I'm sure Chat can correct me on the exact level for that. So Bert's still having to clear out Earth Cave, still slowly going through and checking every chest in this dungeon that Groggy was able to just fleetly check right through because he was in go mode. Meanwhile, Groggy is already right up to carry to going to see what this Fiend of Fire had, because Lich had nothing. Serenus in chat confirming for me 32 is probably the max level you want to think about with your Masamune. Once you're at 32, you don't need to be swinging it anymore. High 20s you could probably swap out if you're feeling saucy.
Yep, and so Groggy makes short work of carry 2, and then we will see what Kraken 2 has to offer.
We've got Caleb in chat, who's sitting there going, wait, Marsh paid out? Yes, Marsh paid out. It had the adamant that led to the key, that led to Canaria Locked Floater. Your play worked. And I missed Carrie. Did you say that she was defeated? What happened there?
She was massacred, unfortunately, for her. Groggy is running low on heal pots, and that could be an issue.
Yeah, this was something I was talking about right there. Meanwhile, Bert is down to just a red mage, but it's a red mage that has life too. I don't think he's too concerned. He's probably just conserving right now and not stressing too much about it.
Hey, the ninja's back! I wonder why he's back.
So, Kraken is an interesting fight, especially at the 2 level. And this is kind of one of those cases where you really want to meat shield up front to take the damage, so that you don't have to worry about stuff like Kraken's massive 8 or more hits, because he has 8 arms, landing on your black belt and doing some horrifying amounts of damage. So, he brought up the ninja to act as a meat shield, and if Kraken decides to whack out, I'm pretty certain we're going to see that ninja die.
2 hits, 83 damage. That's not what Groggy wants to see. Hopefully these nukes do a little bit better for him. Oh, and we knock down the black belt.
Yeah, so let's hope for a paper Kraken, because he's going to expend a lot of magic right now trying to make up for the fact that he doesn't have a black belt at this point. Well, there goes the black mage.
And down goes the black mage. Let's hope these nukes can get through.
Yeah, you gotta love seeing your low-level ninja shake off his zap like it's nothing. What? You should have been using me earlier. Come on.
How is the ninja the one at first? Does he wait?
Yeah, he's waiting with that ninja.
His red mage?
Oh, he might have. That might have been a mistake. Kraken is down, though. That's down.
That's the only warrior we needed alive, too. He can resurrect the others.
He resurrects the whole pack, which I might have held off on resurrecting the ninja until we were here at Tiamat, just in case they found something else nasty. He lucks out, but still, that was a bit shaky right there, in my opinion.
I think Groggy knew exactly where he was on the encounter table, and so he knew that he could just res him there and walk right to Tiamat.
He getting his buffs out. Tiamat getting her buffs out. You can do that? I can do that. Look at that. Groggy trying to figure out exactly how he wants to buff things at this point. That fast would have me a little worried, because Tiamat can pack some heat.
Yeah, Kraken, Tiamat, or Chaos with fast is pretty potent.
Yeah, And you can see right there that ninja took over 400 damage, is now just a smear on the ground. Decides to bring out Invis 2 again. Can't say I blame him. 109 damage against that red mage. That hurts. 7 hits for 342. You're on the right track. Just need to keep going.
7 hits for 342 should do the trick. Cure 4 comes out on Zach, keep him alive, and Tiamat is terminated.
Yep. 8 hits, 448. But yeah, Groggy was not playing it safe there at all. A couple of buffs of defense, but he was really much more interested in just going all-out damage as fast as he could.
Alright, so at the 1 minute...
Ooh,
Groggy going for a victory lap. I like it.
Spicy.
Alright, we'll see. We'll see what Chaos have to offer. Fast coming out. Invis 2 coming out. Gonna go for a defense sword.
Yep. Fast
I like this plan.
Much better. Yeah, you can do the Invis 2 and defense twice, and then you'll have the full defense evade that you need for your characters. So he's starting with his tempers. He's gonna. Ooh, he's just doing a power. He's not even bothering with another defense cast. That's a bit risky, but he might be able to make it up with the Invis 2s.
Tier 4 coming out on the black belt. Keep them topped off. Key HP threshold for these fights is above 400 because that's the maximum that Nuke can roll.
Ninja does his job, takes a hit, kisses dirt, good to go. Gonna nuke again. Comes out with a stun, stuns the black mage, don't care about that. 3 hits, 226, still trying to finish this one off. Not quite making it through.
Yeah, I might have stacked a couple more power bonks here, but I think Groggy should make it, provided that Chaos doesn't have anything too nasty.
Well, he still has the tempers, so he doesn't need to be bonking while he's swinging. He can get the temper out and actually continue doing damage. It's a smart play, I think. And it's the nuke, actually, for 266. That's going to finish Chaos off right there. We're going to have an official SRL time of 1 hour, 25 minutes, 10 seconds. GG's to Groggy there. Bert has forfeit at this point, so we can invite both of them in for an interview and get just a couple of minutes in here before we need to kick things back over at 1:30. I'll see if I can get them in just for a quick little comment.
Sounds good. GG's to Groggy Dog. GG's to Bert. Bert did a fantastic job running the game, given the fact that he did not have the floater. And that, folks, is the awesome part about this Final Fantasy Randomizer game. If you have not checked out FinalFantasyRandomizer.com, please do so. Community's great. Game is great. We're so glad to be here benefiting No Kid Hungry today.
I passed him the invite. We'll see if we can get a minute or two comment in here. Do want to be able to kick this back over to SpeedGaming for the No Kid Hungry Marathon. Move on to the next runner. But I do want to thank our runners. I want to thank SpeedGaming for hosting us. I want to thank you, Dwight, for joining me in the booth. Make sure you give everyone here a follow if you haven't already. And, of course, donate to the marathon. We're here for a good cause right now, hoping to rack up all the dollars we can to help these kids in need.
Yep, we're a little over halfway towards our goal. And just there's some great runs coming up for the rest of this weekend, so stay tuned on SpeedGaming for sure.
Groggy, want to extend you a GG that you've joined us in the booth. Going to get a quick comment from you before we kick it back over to the marathon for the next run. What'd you think of that?
I think I got lucky and that felt very good. The finding the adamant and going to the floater after getting the canoe so early felt really good. And I see it looks like Bert on the ship, and he's asking about the floater in chat. So glad that was there. Glad that despite the forced black belt and thief, this felt like a pretty safe for all parties kind of thing. With the mass immune very accessible and a lot of good items and a lot of good spells. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you definitely sucked out on that one with finding the floater from the key, from the adamant as early as you did. I think, though, even if you'd had to go and do what Bert was doing, like probably within like another 15 minutes, both of you could have been in Topher and finished this out at the 145.
Groggy, real quick, just give me a quick thought on why you promoted when you did.
Just because I was waiting to, I wanted to clip the black shirt very badly for the black mage, but I just wanted to maximize the gain for the black belt, and then just timing Canaria or timing Cardia so that I didn't have to go back.
That's cool. That makes a certain amount of sense. We were questioning it the whole time because you had that Iron Gall grind, but long term it seemed like it worked out just fine for you because you finished out the seed and flying colors.
Yeah, absolutely. I see Caleb saying early March pays out every time, except when it don't. That's the gamble when you expect the better runner to beat you, and definitely that was the gamble I thought I had to take against Bert. So GG, thanks to you guys and thanks to SpeedGaming.
Well, I don't think we're going to get Bert in here, so let's get some final thoughts here. Groggy, as the winner of this race, do you have anything else you want to say?
No, thanks again. Come join our community. If this seems fun at all to you, it's extremely accessible. We'd be happy to welcome you and teach you the ropes.
Dwight, any final thoughts?
Thanks to SpeedGaming, thanks to Danny, our tracker, Groggy Dog and Bert, our runners, my co-commentator Darkmoon, SpeedGaming, No Kid Hungry. Get those donations in. Keep watching these amazing runners play these games, folks.
Yes, please donate to this fantastic marathon. Help these kids in need. Keep sticking around for all the great runs that are still coming. And for the Final Fantasy Randomizer community, we will see you guys next time.